What's going on, everybody? My name is Paul. Welcome back to the channel. And in this video, we're going to talk about how you can increase your profitability at net profit or increase your market share, depending on your goal, for an ASIN across all ASINs into synthesizing the search query performance data, ads performance data, and the organic ranking data all into one place. And what are the biggest problems that we face in business intelligence and in execution, and how you can solve those problems, and how I solve these problems while I was managing 7 and 8 figure brands on Amazon as a full-time PPC manager. So let's dive right into it because time is of the essence. These tactics work, and we can confidently communicate these tactics to you because we have successfully improved profitability by 27% for a scale insights user month over month, while lowering TARPers from 0.1.54 to 15.11%. Now, granted, we lost top line revenue, but at the end of the day, that's why it always comes down to the fact, are you maximizing for market share and order velocity and ranking, or are you optimizing for profitability? Because in general, when you lower or like increase profitability, like you will lose some revenue. And if you, lose, or like when you maximize market share, in general, the profitability will go down. So it really comes down to, okay, what life cycle are you in? Are you in a life cycle of launching, of increasing top line, or are you in the life cycle of optimizing for profitability after you've established, good rankings for your top keywords? So the agenda for today's video: first, we're going to talk about the data challenge and the challenge of business intelligence. Then we are going to talk about our solution to automation, our strategic perspectives, depending on your goal, of course, how we test the strategy and evaluate the results of our actions. And we're going to talk about, managing risk and our decision framework and our closing takeaways. So the data challenge on Amazon is really the following. We have a lot of different data sets like the search code performance report, the ads performance data, the organic ranking, and all of these data points are fragmented. So let's use a specific example. Let's say we are selling garlic. You're selling a garlic, yes, and you are already positioned, well organically. Let's say in the top, 4 results. This is if you're already positioned well organically, but you want to maximize your profitability. This is obviously going to be, a different strategic objective compared to when you are ranking not well organically. You have good tacos and you want to increase your market share. So let's assume that we, are already performing well, or we are already, positioned well when it comes to organic companies. So then, as a PPC manager, you probably know the question. Then my next question would be, okay, but what's my current, bid, my current ACOS, and my current conversion rate for that search term garlic press, assuming that we're selling garlic presses, right? So then we would obviously go into the, targeting tab. Would obviously either look at your targeting tab, your campaign performance on targeting level, or your bot files, and you would see your performance. Evaluate, okay, hey, I'm performing at a 10% ACOS. Of course, this is just an example, but you get the point, right? But now my question would be, okay, from the 3,000 impressions that we have gotten, is that all we can do? Is there more market share to acquire? If you're familiar with marketing, which you probably are since you're professionally familiar with you will be familiar with the total available or addressable market, depending on how you are calling it. And so that basically means, okay, from 10,000 orders any of the month, what is my current percentage of these 10,000 orders in the market? Is it 100 orders? Is it 1,000 orders? And the question on Amazon specifically can be found, obviously, with search query performance report. So let's dive into it. So let's assume for a keyword where we have, good organic positions, good PPC performance, what is the current total addressable market? So let's assume the first keyword is the keyword that we had just searched for and identified that we're ranking well organically. So now, okay, we can see in this example, in week 37, there was a total of 1,200,000 impressions in the market for that search term. We acquired 27,900 impressions, which is a impression share of 2.3%. And next, we would look at, okay, clicks 9,100. Our, click share is 1.8%. And then obviously we have our add to cart, right, in our purchases. This is really the meat of it, right? At the end of the day, we acquire, more market share or profitability through increasing our, purchase share. So, but like the problem I always had when I was managing accounts is, okay, now I want to see everything together because like at the end of the day, now my question is also, okay, but like what's my organic rank over time? Have I just recently acquired organic rank number one or are we fluctuating? And the solution I have gotten to in the past was I was just like downloading all the reports into a spreadsheet. So this is how I did it in the past, right? And this template will be linked down below. So you just download your search query performance report, either week over week or month over month, depending on what time frame you want to observe. Obviously, month over month and week over week both have both are relevant and have their place. Both have pros and cons, obviously, but you can really track. Okay, how's the market behaving? Week over week or month over month? Is the search volume in the niche going up or down? Are the impressions going up or down? And how is my share for impressions, clicks, ATCs or part ads and purchases developing? But then again, I was asking myself, but like, how is my tacos on account level or my tacos on ASIN level, developing? Again, this resource will be linked down below. And so I like the tool Scale Insights because I like to use Scale Insights, but you can use any tool like Scale Insights because number one, obviously, you can correlate your profitability and your tacos in correlation or in relationship to your search query performance data, which obviously will be bringing everything together, right? The search query performance data is basically the top of the market, and then underneath you obviously have your advertising cost, your fees, your cost of goods, which will lead to profit, which is, I'm assuming, the most relevant metric to use, your absolute net profit. And obviously our intention is to increase this. So obviously the net profit on account level is just the sum of all ASINs. So that's why I like to use the keyword rank tracking feature in Scale Insights. It blew my mind when I used it for the first time because, as I said, in the past, I was always, my issue was that the reporting and evaluation of the metrics was really time consuming. It was so valuable because it was giving me a better ability to make decisions, but it was really time consuming and wasn't streamlined. So I, wasted a lot of time on downloading reports instead of taking actions to change the metrics in the report. And, the solution is a tool like Scale Insights. You can use any tool, but for example, let's say we'll position well organically, and our intention is to increase our net profitability. Then our hypothesis is, okay, we want to increase profitability through cannibalization. Because if we look at the rank tracking data, we can see that, for example, for this term, let's assume this is like the garlic press example that we evaluated previously. And we can see, okay, we are consistently ranking organically number one or two 4 days ago. And our current ACOS is 26%. We have spent $350 in the last week. And our purchase share in the last week was 9.7% for this ASIN, right? You might have different garlic press variations. So it's important to evaluate this purchase share number one for your ASIN, but also for your whole catalog. But now the hypothesis is, okay, if we are currently performing at a 9.7% purchase share and we're ranking organically number one, then an argument that a lot of people made is, hey, let's pause our ads and evaluate if we are actually like able to hold our market share if we're losing market share. Because obviously, if we're already positioned well organically, some people say, okay, if I'm pausing all ads, some people, most people would have bought anyways via the organic rankings or the organic positions, but we are cannibalizing profit because they're checking out organically because we're positioning ourselves with ad placements over organic placements. The antithesis to this is that some people cannot tell the difference between organic and ranked, and ad placements. The truth is, again, somewhere in the middle. So the hypothesis that we're testing is, okay, we're increasing profit through avoiding cannibalization. The antithesis is that we're losing profit due to losing market share because we're giving up ads placements. But the thing is, like, there's the truth is somewhere in the middle and we have to track it. So how you can specifically track that in a tool Scale Insights, or you do it manually, is that you say, okay, so you can go to automation and go to bidding rules and create a bidding rule that says, okay, hey, if my ACOS, you could also insert a keyword criteria, maybe of only keywords that are under 35%. This is also due to what's your maximum acceptable ACOS, but this is not really that relevant in that scenario because we just want to specifically focus on keywords where we are in the last weeks, ranking for, um, where we have a purchase share of, let's say, 1 to, you could say 30%, but you could debate about the parameters all day, every day, but like we really want to set up a automation and get data. Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication, is what Leonardo da Vinci said, because we want to get data quickly so we can, gather the data and make better decisions. Because if we don't have data and don't test, we are just making assumptions. We don't really know if our hypothesis is correct or if the antithesis to our hypothesis is correct. So in this scenario, you could say, okay, if I'm ranking well organically 1 to 4, and you could also say if you could include more parameters, but let's keep it simple. Let's say our organic rank is 1 to 4 or 1 to 3. Then, you put in the time frame of the last, 7 days, and you want to ignore the last 2 days or last 1 day. Then you could say, okay, I want to um, uh, pause all keywords where I'm ranking for organically. But then it's really important that validate, okay, am I keeping purchase share stable? If yes, if sales are not declining and we're just saving ad budget, then our hypothesis was tested correct that, hey, we probably cannibalized our sales and our profit through generating ad sales, and we would have gotten your organic placements anyways. If your purchase share is declining, that's dangerous, right? Because that means, hey, our hypothesis is incorrect and the antithesis is correct because our competitors are probably acquiring market share that is, that we previously generated. So of course, if you have um, keywords that are number one slipping out of organic rank number 1 to 4, or that currently are not positioned rank number 1 to 4, you would want to include, of course, call it increase, like increase rank or whatever, ASIN, XYZ, whatever, naming convention works you best. And then you want to focus on, okay, if it's organic with 1 to, you could say 30, page 1, or like even like 60, but ads ranking, you could probably say anywhere from 2 or 4 to like 96. Because if we are not, positioned well organically, of course, we want to increase a bit. But you could also include market conditions, like the search query performance report, where you have a conversion delta of like 1 to 99, meaning you only want to focus on search queries to increase rank where where we have a better conversion rate than the market, according to the search query performance report. And yeah, that's basically it. We can always add more conditions like, ASIN conversion rate, or you could say for anything under, 30 clicks in the last 2 weeks, right? Because we just need more clicks, more order velocity, if we have a conversion rate of, let's say, like 10%. But like we could always tighten, like improve, refine the parameters, but we just want to have a rule set in place, like a simple rule set in place that is firing for us to evaluate, is it generating results? And if not, then we can always go back and tighten the parameters. But like, to be honest, this case study here was also, we also deployed day parting rules. So we'll talk about this in the next video, how you can set up day parting. And yep, debate. There's always a like heated debate in the industry, but you just have to test it, because if you're not testing it and gathering data, again, we're just making an assumption. So it really depends on the strategic objective of your ACE, right? And what's the state of the account? Because if you're operating at a high targets, then you might want to introduce this tactic to meet your strategic objective of increasing their profitability. Some brands that we work with say, okay, hey, we want to dominate top of search. There are certain terms that we just want to own the mental real estate, or like the digital territory. And we always want to dominate the sponsored brand headline and the sponsored product slots and the sponsored brand video slots. So it really depends on your goal. What's the current targets of the account? And, what's your objective, really? What's your objective? Because in general, market share acquisition and profitability are kind of like contradicting goals. One is like, heavily investing into ads and into kind of like reducing ad spend and evaluating, are we keeping sales stable? If yes, we might most likely are increasing profitability. We talked about how you can test that strategy. So you set up the automation, or you do it manually, and you have to evaluate week over week, how are the metrics performing. Maybe your sales are declining, but that might also be due to the fact that the total amount of search volume and of available purchases in the market is declining week over week, right? That might also be a fact. So maybe see sales declining, you ask yourself, why are my sales declining? Maybe it's just the market has just lowered the bar. That might also be the answer, but the answer to this question can be found in the Search Curve Performance Report. So again, the risk management, obviously, as we now said multiple times, but we really want to drill that the point home is that we're making a bet, right? We're constantly making bets as sellers or PPC managers because we're betting on our hypothesis that when we pause ad spend, we're increasing profitability because we would have generated the sales anyways. That is the upside. The downside, obviously, is that we might be losing profitability, and we might be losing market share in total sales. But hey, no risk, no reward, right? You have to test it. Otherwise, you will never know. You will always just make assumptions and have an opinion, but you don't have any you don't have an empirical data set to validate your assumption or your hypothesis. So be aware of the risks. And I would recommend that you maybe test your hypothesis on 1 to 5 keywords first. That's more like the conservative approach rather than, executing it on the whole account, and then once you have validated your hypothesis on the smaller subset of the statistical data set, then you can introduce it to, a broader spectrum of your account. But that's basically our decision framework for how to increase net profitability when you are already positioned well organically. And in the next video, we're going to talk about how you can increase your market share and your total sales and hopefully your net profitability if you have relevant keywords that you're not ranking for well organically. Maybe you're ranking for organic position 8 to 30, and you want to increase your market share and acquire more total sales. But like you're going to talk about this in the next video. I think that was valuable. I believe that was valuable. And see you in the next video. Bye.